Just a quick update here, I've thrown a few dust sheets about there. Now I'll give that a quick wipe down again and dust down, and then I'm going to stick some base colour on it just to get some degree of uniformity on it. Unfortunately I'll not be able to video that because I'll have to put this iPad down and I don't want to leave it on its stand while there's paint swirling about in the air. So I'll come back to you once I've given it a little tickle of the paint. Here we are, it's the first coat of paint I've put on it. I did plump for the pink. Bit of a dilemma for me now. I don't know whether to keep it pink and work with that as it is. Sorry about the light, but I'm in my garage here, it's a bit awkward. Or to do what I had intended to do from the start, was use that and rub it as black, probably about 80% of it, and then spray black on top. Anyway, we'll wait and see. I'm going to let this dry, then I'll take some very fine wet sandpaper, rub it back, and we'll see how we feel about that tomorrow. Okay. Probably the light doesn't do it the best. It's pretty pink. But I'm actually wondering what it'll look like with the pearl scratch plate and then that lovely maple neck on it. And then relicked a bit, you know, down into the wood again. And yeah, decisions. Anyway, watch this space and we'll see what happens. Okay, here we are, next day, and we're rubbing down some of that pink that I put on. And don't laugh. I'm going back to my original idea, which was to put a little bit of pink in the background and then do black on top and then relic it back a little bit so I've got a hint of pink coming through. Because I looked at this colour last night again and I thought, my god, that's got to go. At one point I was actually thinking about keeping it pink, but there you go. So here we are, trying to, what I'm trying to do is to rub off the majority or as much of that pink as I can. So that's what we're going to do now. And then when we get that back, we will hang it up again and we'll give it a spray with my black and then leave that overnight again. I'm trying to avoid the trap I got in the last time, and I think my paint was way too thick, and I think it affected the resonance of the timber. So this is an effort to see if I'm correct and keep the paint coats as thin as I possibly can. You can just see the wood starting to come through there. You probably won't see it on the video, but you can just see it starting to appear, which is exactly where I want it to be. I was going to use the wet and dry sandpaper, but to be honest, just a little bit concerned when it gets to this stage about how much moisture can permeate in places, you know, like in here. So I'm going to just stick with the dry sandpaper for the moment. There's a time for the wet and dry, but not at the moment. I'll just stop it for the moment and come back to you when I've got it down to a place where I'm happy. Don't know if you can see it anywhere there, but you can see the grain of the wood shining through. So that's a really, really light coat. So I'm taking this white spirit to lift anything out of the surface before we try putting a bit of black on it. Now I've just noticed something on the paint that I bought. It's all acrylics, by the way. They're all acrylics. But it appears that I have purchased 2 cans of transparent black, and I'm not exactly sure what that's going to look like. So there may be a temporary lull in progress, because I've got a bit of test timber to put on to see what it looks like. But if it's not what I want, obviously I shan't be putting it on this. Okay, let's hang this up and let it dry off now. So here we are after a coat of black paint, and this huge improvement on what it was before. It's called translucent black, I think it's called. Whether I stick with it or not, who knows, I don't know. It's still got to be rubbed down. And now the tricky bit comes, trying to rub it back carefully so that I just get a bit of pink coming through at the right places, and try and give it sort of my DIY relic look, and we'll see how that goes. Anyway, so far so good, much better than the pink. Okay, here we are on the next stage. It's got the black paint on, and I'm rubbing it down now. And I've worked my way down for 400, 600, 1000, 2000, and now I'm on 3000 wet and dry. And let me say it for the outset, I am not particularly happy with the way it's going at all. I've never worked with this black before, but my God, the slightest scratch shows up. So I'm at a position now where I'm thinking about putting another coat of black on. But it's a dilemma for me, because I'm going to try and make it a little bit of a customised job relic wise. So really, what's the point, you know? As a great advocate, guitar looks great, but it's it's how you play it, you know. Anyway, there you go. So we don't know. What I'm going to do today is work my way gradually through this process, and then at the end of the day make a decision as to whether I want to put another coat on to improve the base coat, or whether I'm just going to take it on the nose and work away here with what I've got. That's the question. If you have a look, see on the back there, I've started to get it through. You can see it going through to the pink, just to try and give it a bit of that relic-y feeling, and I'll do the same here. So all you professional relicers all out there will be looking at me and saying, for heaven's sake, what's he doing? Well, what he's doing, his own little project. So let's just wait and see how it goes. We don't really want any of that moisture going into these screw holes, you know. But that said, in this New Zealand heat, give it an hour and it will be bone dry again. What I'll try and do probably is give it a rub over the 3000. Then I'll try buffing it up with some rubbing compound just to see how it goes. Obviously, as I said, you'll be a bit surprised because I've not put any clear coat on this, but I shan't put any clear coat on it until the very end, because it's not a proper relic in the true sense of the word. It's just my version of it. And obviously, if you're doing this and you're looking for a pristine finish, you need to be really ultra careful when it comes to these edges. Even though it's 3000 grade wet and dry, you can really feel the abrasive quality of it when you put a little bit of pressure on it, so you need to be so careful. Anyway, look, I'll crack on and I'll come back when we've gone around the whole thing with the 3000, and I'll let you see it then. Just a quick snippet here, guys. I'm just doing a bit of rubbing, some rubbing compound. Bit more paint on there than I thought actually, because I expected it to go through to the pink in the wood by now, but no. I might have to take a bit more sandpaper to that and take it back a bit. Just putting on the video again, just while I do this corner here. Just trying to take this back through that undercoated pink to the wood to give it that sort of relic feel. And basically just working my way down again through the grades of wet and dry. Hopefully what I want to try and do is get this back to the natural wood there, and then just a little bit of hint of pink around there. So that's the plan. Starting off that process with fairly rough wet and dry, and then I'll work it down again just through the grades as I did before. Yeah, look, I don't know what this is going to look like. I don't know if it's going to work, but as I think I said before, something I wanted to try. So here we are. Anyway, that's the plan. I'll come back to you when I've got it sort of roughly where I would like it to be. I've done a little bit of taking the paint off, you know, in the obvious rub places, and a bit on the horn. I've taken a bit off the old back here. And basically now I'm just rubbing it down with rubbing compound. As I said, to be honest, I'm not particularly happy with it. I think part of the reason is the colour, this translucent black. It's a learning experience, put it that way. As fine a finish as I can. Obviously I'm doing this completely different from what the pros would do it, because they would have had the top coat on as well, and then they would go and do the relic and their scraping and scratching as they do. But I'm doing it the other way. Once I've done this, I will put a bit of top coat on this just to preserve it, just to see what it looks like. This is very satisfying if it comes out well, but if anybody's watching as well, you know, fatal mistakes that I'm making that you should never make. These holes, get them plugged up. You don't want to get any moisture into them. But what I'll do is, after I've done this, I'll leave it for a week in the airing cupboard, just to make sure that none of that moisture, and especially here, like here when you got the bare wood, just to make sure that all that moisture is dried off and the wood has been breathing okay. But yeah, that's a big no-no. Plug up these holes. I'm still not sure how I feel about the pink coming through underneath it. That was my plan. I wanted to see what it would look like against the black, but I'm still not 100% sure about it. You get to this stage and I think, God, I really should have just stuck with the black and given it a nice coat of gloss black. There it is then, rubbed black and a little bit of relicing, and the edges, a couple of bits, top and bottom, and then an old buckle bit at the back. Okay, here we have it. I'm going to put a bit of clear coat on it now, and I can say fairly and honestly, having painted about half a dozen Stratocasters, this is, without any question, the worst job I've ever done. But you know, it absolutely looks fantastic. You probably can't see it from where you are, but in the paintwork there's so many scratches and pots and everything. I think that's an issue with painting with black. It just tends to show up everything. Well, I thought about doing it again and starting again, and I thought, nah, leave it at that, because it fits in perfectly. I really hope it works, because I'm so happy with this so far. It's turning out to be exactly what I want it to be. So I'm going to rattle up some paint. You've never seen me doing the spray and stuff. I've been doing all this with rattle cans, acrylics and rattle cans. So I'll show you a little bit of that when I'm putting on a bit of clear coat, and then I shall be leaving it for a couple of days to harden up, and then I'll do the copper foiling. Okay, stand by. This stuff just shoots out of the spray can and it's the wrong top in it. I'm just going to keep doing it that, digging it away until I get a bit of uniform gloss all over it. I'll certainly not be doing what the pros do and doing sort of 12 and 14 coats of it, because I'm really concerned about how that affects the sustain of the wood. Okay, there we are. I've got a couple of light coats of clear on there. To be honest, it's pretty consistent with the other paintwork I've done in this, which is pretty average to say the least. But you know, it'll buff up with a bit. I've got some 3000 wet and dry there. It'll buff up with that, and then a bit of a rub done. Okay guys, we've just done a little bit of shooting in the cavity in there. Whether it's necessary or not, I don't know. There's mixed opinions on it if you want to do some research if you're using ultra noiseless, but hey, there we go, I've done a little bit anyway. And I don't know if you can see, I've insulated the bottom of the the cavity for the TBX control. That bit there, that's just my initials and the date that I originally painted this guitar, when the colour it was first, that greeny colour. Just when we're on the subject of the pick guard, there it is. There's the guard I've got wired up with the TBX system in there. Now I don't know if anybody else has endured this before, but what a pain. If you actually look at the noiseless pickup guide, it differs somewhat from the mid-boost installation guide. More specifically, on the noiseless guide you see that there's 3 wires coming off of each pickup, and on the mid-boost kit there's only 2 wires. So obviously I've got the mid-boost kit, but I've got the 3-wire pickups. So my consideration at the end of the day was simply that the additional wire on the pickup is most likely an additional earth for the second winding of the coil. Let's hope that's the case, because what I've done, I have wired the pickguard, wired the pickguard in accordance with the mid-boost kit instructions, and the extra wires I have run off to an extra earth. Let's give a bit of an update here. Here we are now, we've got the body sorted. Pickups are in and it's all working. I know that for a fact, and I'll explain that to you in a minute. The wiring became a total nightmare for me, and the dilemma was what wiring to follow the noiseless pickups wiring diagram or the mid-boost preamp kit. I was confused by the pickup one, because it has 3 wires in each pickup, whereas the mid-boost kit has the 2 wires to each pickup. Anyway, after much deliberation and much research, I sort of satisfied myself that the additional wire in each of the pickups was an additional ground wire, which you can see there from the diagram. Long story short, I considered that as being the extra grounds, so I followed the mid-boost preamp setup and wired it up in accordance with that, and when I went to switch it on to test the pickups, nothing was working. I spent 2 days going over it, checking all the connections, and eventually I gave in and I took it to someone who knows much more about the electronic setups than I do. Bear with me. What the issue was for me was, if you look at the noiseless pickup wiring diagram, the 5-way switch there has multiple connections to it for the various pots, but the mid-boost circuit here, 4 connections on one side of the 5-way switch. So I was a little bit at my depth with that, so I went and I got a little bit of proper advice from a proper guitar tech bloke locally here. The upshot of it all is that I had missed, by the looks of it, one tiny little wire here. Stand by. Which one was it? Here. There. That little earth wire. In a nutshell, the boost wiring diagram was spot on, everything was spot on. I had missed one wire, but when it was connected up and the tech had given it the once over, everything works swimmingly well. So the bottom line for anybody who's doing this, and I know a couple of people have raised the question on YouTube videos before about why the original pickups switching wiring is so complicated compared to the treble boost one. So be it. If you follow that treble boost pickup wiring diagram and fit it to that, it will work. So that's where we are at the moment. I'm going to stick the neck on this now. I put the bridge in yesterday, everything's hooked up in the back. I'm really pleased with it, the way it's gone actually. Very, very happy. Obviously the proof is in the pudding now when it comes to trying and see what it sounds like, and hoping we can get a decent setup with this new vintage bridge. And the neck, the control buttons there, all a bit different. The one in the middle for that's where the treble boost is. On my other similar guitar, it's on the lower pickup. You got a picture of that, how my battery setup fits in the back, as opposed to the other way where it goes in sort of more horizontal. I think that's fine. Pardon me. These are the screw holes, remember, I had to move them 2mm down. Because of the new cavity I'd put in. And the front bridge, I think these pickups will be low enough for me to put a set of strings in here. And we'll set the pickup right after. There we go then, strung up and all intonated really well actually. Very little adjustment needed at all. Got its new neck on it. So the only thing that, in the back there, the only thing now really is to plug it in and see how it sounds.